back, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This is Candace with Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. I hope you're doing well. Back at it with another video today. I want to talk to you guys all about the upcoming transit of the North Node Uranus conjunction. And I have been working on this for a little while. It's going to be several different pieces that I'm going to do for this. But now that we're starting to see the conjunction within a couple of degrees, we're definitely starting to feel it now. We're within 5 degrees. So usually, conjunctions or aspects in general, they're going to differ from astrologer to astrologer. So some astrologers are going to work with a 5-degree orb. Some astrologers are going to work with a 10-degree orb. It's all a matter of personal preference. But definitely I have been feeling this. So I was like, okay, it's time to do it. And this will be several parts. So this video today is going to be me just talking about the general North Node conjunct Uranus kind of themes, some stuff that we kind of see archetypally. I'm not really going to be touching too much on the historical stuff. I'm also not going to be touching on how this is going to affect the 12 signs. Mostly because I feel like me giving you a brief 2-minute synopsis and pulling a tarot card could not even begin to encapsulate what this is going to do for each individual sign. I want to be very thorough with this. So this will be a video that's more generally talking about it. Now I'm getting ready to film a collaboration with somebody actually tomorrow. So I'll probably have this out next week, and it's going to be with another astrologer. We're going to be talking all about the conjunction, what it means in natal charts, and how this may materialize out in the world, followed by a July webinar that I'm going to be doing that is all about the North Node Uranus conjunction, including also more information on Mars, because Mars is also going to be a part of the conjunction. So it's kind of unusual. I'm not really hearing a lot of people talk about it. Like, I haven't really seen anybody go, is anybody looking at the fact that Mars is involved? Which I will touch on a little bit in this video. So just know that if you are looking for much more personal insights as to how it's going to affect you, stay tuned. Pretty soon I'm going to be releasing the link and the information to join my webinar. So you can join it live and you can be a part of that. We might do some Q&A. And if not, then you'll be able to watch the playback. So I'll have that available, making some PDFs and some other things that I can give to everybody who joins, just so you guys have some more resources, so you're prepared for this big cosmic leveling up. Oh my goodness. I also am really aware and conscious and sensitive to the fact that a lot of people are not doing so well with kind of between the eyes astrology, you know? To each their own. Like, I'm assuming that if you watch my channel, you have either been a follower of mine for some time, or maybe it's being recommended to you because you're seeing other YouTube astrologers. I'm always going to be really supportive of other people's perspectives, but by the same token, I'm not one of those astrologers who's just going to blow smoke up your ass and give you all these like rainbow and butterfly predictions. And I don't do this to incite fear, because that's not really what this is about. For me, it's about being able to tell the truth and being able to be very forward with the information, because I believe that truth is power. And when we know what's kind of coming astrologically, as we walk through some of these next couple of weeks, we can be better prepared and have a better understanding of the purpose of these energies, rather than just being reactionary or spiraling. I think it's really important to be aware of that. So if you are somebody who is like sensitive to some of this stuff, my astrology may not always be the best stuff for you guys. But I will say, because I have noted that there have been some people who have been really sensitive to like world event predictions, most of my Uranus North Node throughout history and a lot of my research that I'm going to be talking about will mostly be in my webinar. So if you're looking more of that, because I believe, astrology is the study of cycles, right? It's the study of patterns. History repeats itself. So we can reflect back on previous conjunctions similar to this, and we can, as astrologers, make scientific I guess predictions, so to say, or just noting stuff that might be kind of coming up in the world. So I will get into these time periods more later, but I just want to let you guys know that it's very similar to like spring of 2007, fall of 1991, September of 1976, also September of 61, July of 1946, and March of 1931. Now, these are all more so recent, within the last 100 years. North Node Uranus conjunctions. But as we know, even though we can see the conjunctions happen, it doesn't always happen in the same sign, doesn't always happen in the same degrees, right? So we actually see the nodes shift and go through these same placements about every 19-ish years. And also when we look at just the connection to when Uranus may coincide, not just in the same sign, but with Mars, is extremely rare. Actually, and according to what I've seen, this conjunction dates all the way back to the summer of 1687. So I'll talk more in my webinar about the conjunction specifically with Uranus and Taurus if you want more on that, because I have all kinds of information with what's happened throughout history, some things that we saw that was very notable, especially in relation to radiation, bombs, anything in regards to atomic bombs, anything in regards also to dealing with dictatorships. So there's just some kind of eerily familiar stuff that's kind of showing up now. Okay, so let's talk more about this transit and giving you guys kind of the cliff notes or the spark notes of just what to be watching for and when. Okay, so we've got Mars, which will be coming into conjunction with Uranus and the North Node in Taurus. We're feeling it now. Okay, we're feeling it now because it's within 5 degrees, but I think that it's going to be felt a lot more strongly from July 21st, 2022 throughout the first week of August of 2022. So you want to make a note of these time periods. Now, if I were to go in order, I think it really kicks off on July 21st when we see Mars and Taurus come into conjunction with the moon and also Uranus. So moon, Mars, Uranus, emotionally feeling a little volatile, breaking out, needing to be rebellious, having highs and lows, and just feeling kind of like all over the place, right? So the moon is exalted in Taurus, but something I've been noticing just throughout these lunar transits the last couple of years, specifically the last 2 years since we've had Saturn in Aquarius, it represents like this emotional fit. And I've seen this happen for clients, I've seen this happen with me, and this need to kind of emotionally break free and kind of liberate ourselves emotionally. Now, Taurus is the sign related to the element of earth, and it's fixed. So likely when we see this conjunction take place, there's going to be something that's going to be going on that's challenging how we feel about our resources, how we feel about our money, how we feel in our bodies, okay? Then on the 31st of July, we will see Uranus come into conjunction with the North Node. Now, this is going to be happening at 18 degrees of Taurus. And then the following day, on July 1st, we're going to see Mars join the bunch, and Mars will move into conjunction with the North Node and Uranus. So if you were like, hey, when am I going to start feeling it? The 21st of July. When are the days to be incredibly aware that this action is happening? I would say the 31st of June through about the 5th of August. That kind of 5-day period is going to be rather active. Now on July 1st, when Mars and the North Node conjunct, the moon will also be in the sign of Virgo. So we are going to see that the moon will be making trines to all of these planets in Taurus. So collectively, there is going to be more of this energy around that's like us being aware of our health, us being aware of our routine. It can be digestional issues, it can be health issues, we can be more accident prone. This is all associated with the sign of Virgo. So don't underestimate some of those trines, because I believe that that can add a little bit more fuel to the fire. I go back and forth. You know, I'm a big follower of degree theory. I, took courses and studied a lot of Nikola Stanovich's work. And the 18 degrees is definitely a degree that also has a connection to Virgo in itself, but specifically relating to like health, right? So it can be, here's some more challenging things about the 18 degrees, but I'd like to read for you a little bit about just what he says, and he gives some like food for thought on kind of keywords and topics relating to 18 degrees. So Many people have asked me where you can get this book. You're going to have to go on his website. It is still active. You can email through his website, and his wife should still be selling these. These are in print, but you can't get this on Amazon. You can't get this anywhere else. You have to order it, okay? There's a number of articles and other things that are really helpful in regards to Nicola's work. So he says in regards to 6 or 18 degrees, although 18 has more of kind of like a negative connotation to it, it has to do with work in the workplace, colleagues from work, coworkers, location of work, working conditions, to be hardworking. Now, Virgo also has this connection specifically to like the service industry, right? So, people who are bartenders, who are cutting our hair, who are waiting tables, who are servicing, dry cleaners, vets, people who take care of animals and things of that nature. So there can be this theme of like these kind of being major topics that are coming up. Do we go back to work? Are our major companies going to be adopting a new work schedule where we're returning to the offices? We'll see. It's also about those who work for us, employees. And when I think of Uranus, I think of unions and I think of workers' rights. So one thing that I'm anticipating that may be kind of coming about as a result of this transit is just seeing more strikes, or feeling like unions are coming together and they're standing up and having something to say about working conditions, or whether or not they feel like they're giving too much and receiving a little bit less in return. Specifically, this is connected to health, illnesses, health center, practitioners, everything that's associated with health, macrobiotic or health food stores, people who cure, medical care booklets, and prescriptions. So that's one thing. Service industry, once again, clients, those who request services, anything relating to subtenants, renting, right, to be a subtenant. So I think of like renters' rights, or anything in regards to some of the challenges that have been going on with the housing over the last couple of years, and people who are wondering what their rights are for raising rates, right? So raising rent, or even interest rates going up, things of that nature. Veterinary sciences, domestic pets, animals, food shops, to analyze, to assess, step parents, clothes, aunts, uncles, stomach teas, honeys, beehives, and ants. Now I'm almost wondering, because, I think Venus being the ruler of Taurus, that there could be something that's coming up where we're realizing that there's something really kind of up or going on in regards to bees. And we all know how important bees are, how much we need them to be able to kind of keep things growing and keep things pollinated and make it possible for us to be able to have all of the flowers and the food and all of the things that we consume. So I'm kind of curious and wondering if there's going to be something like that kind of comes up. Obviously, these are kind of all random, but they don't really make sense until they hit, so I just wanted to kind of get that out there. On the 1st, when we see this conjunction of Mars and the North Node and Uranus, it won't only trine the Moon in Virgo, but we're also going to see that it will sextile Venus in Cancer. So to some extent, I think it's really interesting that Venus is somehow in supportive nature in regards to this like rising up, or like this rebellion that's going to be happening. And when we look at Taurus, we look at land, we look at money, we look at food. When we look at Cancer, we look at our homes, our security, our houses. So I'll talk a little bit about the two conjunctions separately, but I kind of find it interesting. The South Node's in Scorpio, and it is ruled by Mars, not just by Pluto. We have to look at the archetype of Mars, especially when Mars is making significant aspects in the skies. So for Mars, the planet of courage, passion, desire, anger, war, rage, cutting, severing, comes into conjunction with the North Node. What's really going on here? I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been kind of racking my brain, and the conclusion that I've come to is, because Mars rules the South Node and it's coming into conjunction with the North, we're breaking the ties of karmic past hurt, betrayal, pain, fear. We're liberating that. However, it's coming out of our bodies. And so our bodies are going to have really significant responses to vibration, to energies that we're surrounding ourselves with. I question and wonder if there's going to be anything that's connected to how our bodies are responding to the resonance of Earth, if the Earth vibrations start shifting in their frequency. we may see with Mars North Node Uranus a very significant volcanic eruption, a very big earthquake that may kind of come about in parts of the world. But it can also be about humans responding to the Earth's call. And we know that, at least from a spiritual perspective, the Earth is going to also respond back to us. We are connected. We are made of the element of Earth ourselves. So this relationship that we have with the planet and how the planet might be responding to things that we're holding on to and not letting go of, we might see explosions happening environmentally, but we might also see that happening within our own personal lives. So I really feel like there's going to be a lot going on about how we also deal with trauma in our bodies. You know, several years of fear, several years of anxiety, stress, of wondering where our next paycheck is going to come from, if we're going to be able to feed our families, if we're going to have our job, if we're going to have enough money in the bank. So I feel like this has been compounded for years, right? And it goes beyond just what's gone on the last couple of years. It's gone on for a long period of time. And those of us who have not dealt with resentment, anger, frustration, fear, sexual trauma, or abuse, we might start finding that it is materializing and coming out of our bodies in some very unexpected and sometimes unpleasant ways, right? Uranus can deal with like vibration. It can deal with tremors. It can also deal with, I'm assuming, physical reactions connected to the neurological system. You know, we think about like our nervous system, and Uranus being in Taurus, a lot of us have seen how much stress has impacted our health, our thyroids, our stomach, our eating habits, our patterns, all of these things. And I think we're going to start to kind of see physical manifestations of some of this stuff. Now then on the 5th of August, we're going to see more fallout happening because the moon will move into Scorpio. So just a matter of days later. Oh, you know what? August? Hold on a second. I'm like, wait. Yes. Yes, no, yes. It'll be yes. So I just want to make sure I gave you guys the correct dates because now I'm realizing I might have said June. So this is starting July 21st. We see the Mars-Moon-Uranus conjunction. Then on July 31st, we're going to see the Uranus-North Node conjunction. Then on August 1st, we're going to see North Node Mars-Uranus conjunction. And then on August 5th, I might have said June, sorry guys. Then on August 5th, we're going to see more fallout. And this is going to be because the moon will be in Scorpio. Pull up my chart here. And as the moon moves into Scorpio, it will conjunct the South Node, releasing and letting go of like emotional toxicity and frustration. And it will also make an opposition to Uranus and Mars, and then a square to Saturn. So we're going to see in the month of August the resurgence of these fixed squares. So that's definitely going to be some interesting energy, really difficult for the fixed signs because we're seeing that there's almost like 4 placements locked in place and neither one wants to let the other one give. It's kind of being like a 4-way stop, you know, not everybody can drive at the same time. So I'll do more on that in the months ahead, but just know that the fallout will continue until about the 5th or the 11th of August. Now then on the 11th, the sun in Leo will move into square these particular degrees. And this will be because the sun will be around, let me pull this up here. There we go. The sun will be around 19 degrees. So it's going to be squaring the North Node Uranus. It's also going to be opposing Saturn and making an opposition to the moon in Aquarius. This will be a full moon in Aquarius that's taking place around August 11th. So that full moon is almost kind of encapsulating like everything that had happened for really the better part of the previous 2 weeks prior to that lunation. So, you know, I imagine that's going to be a very interesting full moon video. Looming in the background, you know, we still see the Saturn in Aquarius square. And this is bringing up the themes of whether or not we break apart or commit to certain systems, certain organizations, certain friendships, certain goals. And being that Saturn is going to be conjunct the moon, during this full moon, we're definitely going to feel the impact, right, of there being a lot of polarity, there being a lot of restriction, there being a lot of limitation, stuff like that. But we will see the return of the Saturn-Uranus squares, similar to what we had in 2021. As Saturn retrogrades, it's going to come back into the square with these particular degrees from about August 1st through the end of November of 2022. It'll sit at these degrees and it will activate that conjunction. So sometimes when a conjunction happens, it's not just that we have the conjunction and then 48 hours later it's over. That can be planting of the seed to really see what's going to be manifesting and coming later down the road. That's why I look for lunar transits when the moon is in the fixed signs, when it's, conjunct in Taurus a couple days before, when it's going to oppose in Scorpio a couple days later, when it squares in Leo or makes a full moon in Aquarius. The moon oftentimes can be the trigger for letting us know when events are going to come about. So I'm not going to tell you something explosive will happen on that day, because the truth is that astrology just paints the picture for what could happen. Nothing is necessarily guaranteed. And this is also part of the reason why I don't feel right just being like, here's your general predictions for all of the 12 signs and a tarot card, because I can't predict what's going to happen for everybody. I can talk to you about what's likely to manifest, what house it's going to be in, and where it's going to play out and what to look for. But Uranus is inherently unpredictable. It's like a surprise, and it could be like winning the lottery, or it could be like a shocking, devastating thing that happens that totally transforms your life and you realize there's no going back. In the end, though, similar to Pluto, it wants to create these extreme experiences that can help us become more aware collectively and evolve. So unlike Pluto, where it's more kind of painful and scary, Uranus is just kind of turning everything on its side and saying like, okay, now, put things back together. Or it can create events that can be traumatic, that make it really difficult for us to return to a way that we had been before, right? I keep saying 2022 is the plot twist. This is the plot twist where we understand why everything has been so incredibly challenging for the better part of the last 2 years. There is a method to the madness, and we will see this very much so next year as well, as Jupiter moves into the sign of Taurus and we begin to reap all the rewards of the transformations that we begin to go through this summer. Now, also in the background, okay, we have this series of eclipses that are coming back in the fall. We're getting a reprieve right now for a little bit. So this is kind of like the sweet spot in between. June is a month where we see lots of trines to Saturn. We still see sextiles to Jupiter. And there is a sense of kind of finding our balance. So enjoy it before we get to July and August. But when we move to November, when we see the return of the eclipses in the signs of Scorpio and Taurus, because that's where the North and the South Node are, we will see that on the November 8 eclipse in Taurus, it will be a lunar eclipse. So this will be a full moon. Both the moon and Uranus will be conjunct, and Venus and the sun in Scorpio will oppose these degrees. It's like 16, 17 degrees. So it's still hitting these same points, right? By a square or an opposition. At the same time, Saturn will be there as well. So we are going to see in this eclipse that it will be a fixed T-square, still very much involving Uranus, still very much involving Scorpio, although Venus will be in Scorpio at that time. So it will technically be in its fall. There's just a lot going on. I want you guys to know that in so many ways, July and August are about taking the necessary steps in the right direction, okay? And elevating our vibration, elevating our connection to the planet, to society and groups and friendships. It's in so many ways going to be about stepping into the future, because the North Node is more so, at least in Western astrology, we see it as the direction that we want to go in for our soul's evolutionary path. So that North Node in Taurus wants to feel safe. It wants to have nourishing food. It wants to feel good in the body. It doesn't want to disassociate during sex, like the South Node in Scorpio. It wants to simplify our lives and have stability, and it wants to know that we can make art and make love. It wants to know that we are connected to the earth and that we are banding together to be able to better preserve the place that we call our home, right? So when some of these energies start building, especially in the fall, the squares will be so much about adjusting to whatever explosive revelations that came about in July and August. So July and August is like the jump off point. I've been saying this since New Year's when I did my January 2022 overview, and I talked about the year ahead. I said, look, we're going to get to the end of July going into August, and that's the time to kind of like leap into the unknown, you know, take a risk, take a chance. North Node in Taurus with Uranus. Now, if I were to break this down very specifically, archetypally, you know, when the North Node Uranus alignment happens, specifically just the North Node and Uranus, this is about like life lessons, learning to be more self-sufficient, concerning ourselves with bettering the world around us. That is with others, our community, and society in mind. So I think of like learning how to build things, learning how to sew, learning how to make products, learning how to grow food, and needing to do it in a community sense. It can be about retraining ourselves to change the definition of comfort, abundance, opulence, security, and pleasure, perhaps in ways that benefit the group and the planet as a whole. So it's much more than just being like, let's recycle. It's being like, how do we get rid of plastic altogether? It's more about being like, let's be more conservative with our food usages, and more like, how can we make it possible to feed everyone? You know what I'm saying? If you teach somebody to fish, they're going to be able to feed themselves for life, rather than just giving them a meal or giving them a fish and being like, here you go, take care. It's about using innovative solutions to be able to further the ability to feel secure financially, emotionally, and in terms of our resources moving into the future, but it's for everyone. Obviously, you know, it's also going to bring up themes about our current values in society, you know, whether or not we're excited about helping shape them, if there's going to be group initiatives or group involvement in reworking or redistributing money, wealth around the world. And we're going to be redefining what it means to feel secure, comfortable, wealthy, or stable. Keep in mind, guys, Pluto's going into Aquarius soon. Pluto does deal with wealth. It does deal with a major change and transformation. There's no doubt that as this ingress happens next spring, we're going to find that there is a new sense of wealth that can be acquired. There's going to be major upgrades in technology and technological advancement. There may be this end of feeling like we need to have excessiveness. The McMansions, the expensive cars, all the fancy jewelry, the things that are more flashy, right? We think of like Pluto in the opposite sign of Leo. Pluto in Aquarius is about feeling like you can be powerful with a sense of intelligence, communication, what you can share with other people, how you can lead groups. I've thought for a long time this is going to be the transit that's going to be the beginning of like killing this concept of idealizing celebrities and wealth, moving more into the direction of strength in numbers. It's more about who you align yourself with, what purposes you're aligning yourself with as well. Now, when we see Mars conjunct Uranus in general, this energy gives us a very strong urge to break out of any limiting situations that we may find ourselves in. You know, like if you guys have seen a bull, and if you're watching, if you've ever gotten to see like bull riding or bull fighting, when they let the bull out of the cage or the pen, and then the bull runs out and he's like running around doing laps and charging at people, it's a result of being taunted and being kept in that little like stable, right? So many of us, because of just what's been going on over the years, might feel smothered, or we might feel like we've kind of become trapped in this certain area of our life. It depends on where Taurus is in your chart, so you want to look. So Uranus can get us really kind of nervous in a way, and we can have a lot of pent up frustration and anger and aggression when it meets with Mars. Many of us will benefit by finding ways to not neutralize this energy, but put it into something more positive, grounding our energy back into the earth. You know, if we're getting frustrated, rather than breaking something, going for a walk, putting our feet in the grass, finding ways to use this extra energy, frustration, what have you, to go hiking, or maybe align ourselves with other people and find causes where we can actually support and do good things rather than doing damage. Now, there can be this feeling of also needing to change things up, adding excitement or more spice to our life. We are more inclined to take risks and have a tendency to act kind of more spontaneously and erratically, which can bring about surprises and sometimes some unwanted upset in our lives. Risk-taking with this is not the best option. So when I think of like Mars Uranus, it's like, you know, going really fast and driving around, you know, in the hills. It's potentially risky situations also with fire, burning things down, especially anything relating to crops. I've had this feeling for a while that there is probably going to be a number of either wildfires or a number of fires that break out because people are going and prepping fields and getting it ready for like another season. And Mars is generally very hot and also kind of airy. So there's this feeling of like some major possible kind of breakdown of Earth. It could also be lava, it could be earthquakes. There's a number of different ways that this can play out. But under the guise of this conjunction, be careful with being too risk-taking. Be careful with wanting to go too quickly, moving too fast, even though you'll feel like it. Even though there's going to be some really passionate desires and instincts that kind of come up, it's really important to understand that this is still going to be in a square to Saturn, which is saying we need to practice self-control and focus on the goal in mind and not feeling like we need to get there immediately. Some of our plans will not stick, so that's the other thing that I want you guys to be mindful of. And don't be taking too many risks during these squares, because the conjunctions will then come into a square with Saturn, and there can be repercussions that we're actually feeling clear into the fall of 2022. This erratic energy comes about because it's encouraging us to also chase our desires and focus on upgrading and bettering our lives. So some of you guys might benefit from finding new stimulating things to do, new adventures, relationships. Just watch the risk-takingness. Now, this also can be a time where we're feeling like a little bit more aroused. There can be a lot more of like taking chances when it comes to like sexual stuff, feeling a little bit more of kinky energy. And Uranus does deal with intuition, so there can be flashes of insight, intuition, foreseeing events in the future, things relating to experiments and stuff like that, experimenting with energy, experimenting with frequencies. One of the best things that you can do is just practice getting in your body. A recommendation I can make for those of you guys who are like, I live in a city, I work in an office, I don't get out a lot. Look into getting like a grounding mat. I know it sounds silly, but getting a grounding mat that you can put your feet on to kind of help you ground to the energies and the element of Earth. If you want to work with crystals, work with crystals. If you want to work with natural foods, and if you want to be buying from local groups. One of the things we're going to be hearing about in the immediate near future as a result of these transits is major food shortages, especially relating to food connected to the sign of Taurus. Could be honey, okay? Could be sugar, could be beef, any products that might come from cattle or anything related to like farmland. We might see skyrocketing prices for beef. We might also see major illnesses and stuff going around as a result of animals that have contracted a disease, and there in turn is threatening for the collective. I don't say this to bring about fear, but I mean, the last time we had, eclipses going on in Taurus, we had the rise of mad cow disease in the UK. So I'm anticipating, unfortunately, there's going to be things like this, but I also feel like on the flip side, it's going to get people thinking about where their food is coming from and whether or not they want to opt for stuff that is heavily processed or created in a lab, or if they want to get back down to basics. Something that I've been really focusing on in my life has just been trying to simplify things, not feeling like I have to have all the bells and whistles, learning to retrain my mind, retrain my eye, retrain my beliefs when it comes to what is natural, what is healthy, what is beautiful, what I value. And it's kind of been this very emotional, kind of like erratic series of a couple weeks for me. I mean, I'm having this opposition in direct opposition to my natal sun and Mercury. So obviously there's lots of talks like this of me being like, oh, I'm realizing this and I'm realizing that. And it's been kind of mentally taxing because I have had to catch myself on, negative patterns, negative thought patterns of falling victim, I think, to what society tells us we should look like, what we should weigh, what we should be wearing, how our face should look, what we should be eating, and how much money we should have in the bank. It's just like all of these things, I'm wanting to upend everything, very Uranus, you know, to the point where I feel like every single time I start to have these breakthroughs, it's really great because I feel more liberated. So I don't know if you guys have any real strong personal placements, anywhere around like 17 to 20 degrees of the fixed signs. I'd love to hear some of your guys' experiences if you have already been experiencing these oppositions to some of your personal planets. With that being said, those who are going to be the most affected, obviously, is going to be about 17 to 20 degrees of Taurus. So if you're looking at your natal chart, you want to look at where Taurus is in your chart. You don't have to be a Taurus sun, moon, or rising to be affected by this. If you have Venus, Mercury, Mars, if you have Saturn, if you have anything like that that's sitting at 17 to 20 degrees of Taurus, you are going to feel this big time. Okay, so pay attention. If you have 17 to 20 degrees of Scorpio, you are also going to feel this big time. Sun, moon, rising, personal planets. You'll be feeling this in the form of an opposition. So unlike Taurus, which is going to experience a conjunction, Scorpio is going to experience an opposition, and it will be an opposite, or 6 signs away from your natal Scorpio placements. For like a Scorpio rising, it's taking place in your 7th house. And for a Taurus rising, it's taking place in your 1st. So Taurus is more about this dealing with anger or frustration, being cautious so you're not accident prone, focusing on being able to showcase, your anger or your energy or your courage, your vitality in a healthy way. Struggling with issues with not wanting to be told what to do, struggling with issues with authority. Versus Scorpio risings, who are going to be experiencing this in their relationships and their one-on-one personal relationships in general. Now, if you happen to be a Leo or an Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or if you have placements 17 to 20 degrees of these signs, it's going to be very action-oriented. This is because this conjunction of Mars, Uranus, and the North Node will be forming squares for you. It is pushing you into action. So, for example, Leo, this is all taking place for you in your natal 10th house. This is about taking action, radically redefining who you are in the world and your career. Some of you might quit jobs. Some of you might launch your own business. It can also be about big breakups and split ups with business partnerships or people who you've worked with for some time, or re-identifying out in the world. For Aquarius, this is taking place in your natal 4th house. This is all about your home, your roots, your family. It can be sudden moves, sudden shakeups, relocations, suddenly buying a place, moving to a place, knocking something down, transforming things in some way. The reason why this is more challenging for the fixed signs is because it's happening in an angular house, meaning it's going to be more active. And also for you guys, because Saturn is in the mix, we're experiencing these T-squares. So as we go through the month of July and August, it will become grand fixed crosses because we'll have planets in Leo. So it's going to force change in all areas of your life. If you are a fixed sign, or if you have any planets within 17 to 20 degrees of the fixed signs, specifically I would say Scorpio and Taurus, really good time to consider getting a reading just so you have a better understanding, especially if this is happening around the time of your birthday. It can indicate a very busy year ahead for you, lots of things changing for you, lots of things shifting, lots of excitement. I don't mean for everything to seem like doom and gloom. That's not really what this is about, because to be honest with you, a Uranus transit, even though it's like rolling the dice, you never know what you're going to get. It can be a little bit more exciting and a little bit more quick moving than a Pluto transit. Pluto transits, while they mean well and they bring this sense of rebirth and regeneration and awareness through transmuting the pain, Uranus says, I'm just going to do things suddenly and shockingly. That's totally going to upset the apple cart. But in reality, it's like the thing you've been asking for anyway, because you've really been wanting to be liberated from this situation. You really wanted an upgrade. I can only connect it to like a situation where somebody says, for months on end, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate my job. I wish I could leave, but I can't leave, and I just want to leave. And then it's like you find out that the company got sold and they decided to restructure and they had massive layoffs. And then you're surprised that you ended up leaving your job, Although it's not fun, you were liberated and you were given the opportunity to make changes where perhaps maybe you wouldn't have made changes before, right? And so what's really interesting is that, you know, it's not just Uranus in the North Node that's saying, quick, be a maverick, reinvent the direction of where you're going, reinvent what it means to feel secure, right? It includes Mars, which technically in traditional astrology is considered to be in detriment in Taurus. So usually we like to see Mars in the sign of Aries, that's the sign that it rules, or we see it exalted in Capricorn. But when Mars happens to fall in the sign of Taurus, by detriment, it's the traditional way of saying it doesn't function as well. It's in the opposite of where it's comfortable and used to being. So therefore, Mars in Taurus shows up in a way that can be kind of passive, and Mars in Taurus, this energy is more sluggish, and at times it almost feels like a boulder that's immovable. So what's interesting is that Mars North Node Taurus is like the things that you said you could never do, the things that you said you could never accomplish, the things that you said were not possible. Here is Mars and Uranus basically coming in, putting a TNT stick in, and like those cartoons going and blowing everything up. And then you're like, well, I can't make an excuse anymore. Now I have to act on this. And so much of July and August moving into the fall is, well, it happened. Now what are we going to do about it? And what course corrections are we going to take with the squares to Saturn to elevate? Uranus traditionally rules the sign of Aquarius. So Uranus being in Taurus and Saturn being in Aquarius, there's still some kind of connection there for me. Even though they're squaring by sign, they're both trying to get us to do the elevation in a Saturn sense of our beliefs, of our goals, of who we're aligning with, of how we're stepping into the future. And then, of course, the third dimension is the last thing to catch up. So now our bodies are going to respond to this. Now our bodies are going to respond to what we've been asking for. We have to get into the flow vibrationally of being able to receive the life that we want. And that will require us to eat healthy. That will require us to walk in nature. That will require us to sometimes give things up and not focus on physical material gains or pleasures, having all of the things. Sometimes we're going to realize that we can be wealthy in a sense of health, happiness, right? Our family, doing things that feel meaningful, and being able to rework the idea of what it means to be rich, right? Kind of like butter, sweet foods, things like that. That's another way that we can look at richness. How are we enriching our lives, you know? Boy. Let me read to you guys the Sabian symbol. And I want to read to you, I'm going to read 18 and 19 of Taurus because I feel like that is going to be helpful. Even though it's happening at 18, we're going to round up to 19 because it's 18 degrees and change. So let me start with 18. So 18 degrees of Taurus, a woman holding a bag out of a window. The keyword is facilitation or making things better. The symbol speaks to the service at its highest path to fulfillment. The image of a woman holding a bag out the window refers to a now almost abandoned practice, removing stale and musty odors from clothing and other items by placing them outside in fresh air. The earliest commentary on this image is used the words linen bag, which the implication here is performing even the most routine tasks conscientiously. Life is made easier and more enjoyable for others. On a practical level, the table set with flowers or more freshly scrubbed floor may not seem important in the total scheme of things, but the message received by those who enjoy the fruits of their labor is that someone cared enough to take the time to make life a little brighter, a little lovelier, a little friendlier. At its highest, the symbol represents a unique gift for enhancing everyday experience and making people feel special. The negative is nitpicking, complaining, or a pervasive negative outlook and frequently expressed belief that nothing is right in the world. The accent is on service and personal touch. This can involve helping others clean up or clear out the old in some way. Your greatest advantage lies in making yourself useful, tend to the little things, and take pleasure in the results. Okay, I feel that so much. Like now that it's coming into conjunction with this degree, I'm like clearing things out of closets and literally like wiping things down, shaking things out, getting rid of things, rearranging things, like needing that air. It's like if you've been in a stuffy room and then somebody opens a window and you're like, you can feel it, you know? All right, so then we've got Taurus 19. So this is really going to relate because this is going to be the Sabian symbol that we're really going to see manifest with this conjunction. A newly formed continent. The keyword is originality. The theme is fresh opportunity. The symbol speaks to the fact that the experience ultimately conforms to the desire and expectation. The image of a newly formed continent was described by Mark Jones as symbolizing the raw substance of existence. And he emphasized the fact that reality is constantly being reworked through the course of successive overall cycles. The implication here is that the experience expands awareness, and within each new realization or understanding of reality in any given situation, a man is called upon to make adjustments or reestablish himself and look for new opportunities. At its highest, the symbol represents creative and sweeping vision with the potential to transform the world. The negative is restlessness and inner turmoil or difficulty in learning from experience. The accent is on evolution and change in the environment. You may suddenly notice something new or a situation that has been quietly developing or taking form for quite some time. Your greatest advantage lies in adjusting to changing circumstances. The identify the potential in your place in the new scheme of things. Start planning now. How we're adjusting, you know? I don't know about you guys, but I feel like so much of the Mars in Taurus is about where we've been passive, where we've just let stuff happen, where we've let stuff slide, right? And we've become accustomed to paying for high prices for food. We've become accustomed to just paying a little bit more to have people make things or provide services for us. But we don't take into consideration that what happens if all of that unravels. Do we know how to grow our own food? Do we know how to make our own bread? Are we capable of being able to lean into making changes and having to confront situations in our life where we have become complacent or lazy or unappreciative, right? Where we've been giving too much of our time and our energy and our power away, and how we can learn to respond to things differently, especially as these energies, these vibrations, they rise up in our bodies. They're going to be in our bodies. Sound baths, guys, binaural beats. Being mindful of what you are surrounding yourself with. Now, the truth is that Mars-Uranus can be explosive. It can be associated with violence. It can be associated with anger and violent outbursts, terrorist attacks, unfortunately, and biochemical warfare. So I don't take any of these things lightly. I'm saying this because I do feel like the big plot twist that's going to be coming is going to be intentionally trying to disrupt our harmony, and intentionally trying to bring about old trauma or old fear, whether this is from past lives, from our childhood, from the last couple of years. There are going to be things that are going to threaten our security and our stability, but there is ways to neutralize that. A lot of it deals with being courageous, standing up, and learning to transmute anger and working more with our bodies. Listen to your body. Listen to when your body is acting differently. If you have a headache, if you have a rash, if you have a stomach ache. As you go shopping and you pick up food, ask yourself, does it feel like a vibrational match? When you're holding your Panda Express in your hand, does it feel good? Versus holding, natural foods, whole foods in your hand. And when you're picking up produce and you're buying things that could potentially be, healthier for your body. I mean, these are things that are going to help us. What we're learning about the North Node in Taurus is that food is medicine. Plants are medicine. We don't need synthetic, South Node in Scorpio. We don't need injections. We don't need to have things that are supposedly going to protect us from illnesses. I'm sorry. What we need to be focusing on is connecting to our bodies and what our bodies are telling us. And aligning with wellness practitioners, aligning with people who can talk to you about herbal remedies, talk to you about eating whole foods, talk to you about not eating processed foods. So many of us have gotten in this situation where we have a lower vibration because of what we are putting in our bodies. And because Uranus wants to liberate, if there are any, I have to be careful how I say this, if there are any manipulations going on globally to frequencies that may be used against crowds or people gathering, there can potentially be some extreme physical reactions that we have because we are not prepared. So now is a really good time to be looking at like shungite. Look into it. Consider getting a piece of it. Put it in your water, wear it on you. Keep it by a router, anything that's going to be transmuting some of these energies. If you happen to have placements in any of these 17 to 20 degrees, you know, of the fixed signs. Everybody's going to feel it. When planets conjunct the North Node, everybody's due for an upgrade, okay? But when you have oppositions, squares, or conjunctions from 17 to 20 degrees of the fixed signs, specifically Taurus or Scorpio, take it easy on these time periods. You know, you can be more accident prone. Mars, Uranus can be things that catch fire, things that burn. It could be something that cuts, severs. It can be dangerous situations, especially around crowds, right? So know that really from July 21st all the way through the first week of August, this is going to be the most active. If you have these oppositions or squares, be aware, be conscious of your energy levels, you know, be careful when you're going out about in the world. Take it easy. Focus on being able to ground in your body. Any simple ways that you can do that. Tapping technique is also really wonderful for just bringing awareness to what's going on in your body. Something I can recommend. Let me grab this really quick. This is something that I was actually recommended to by a friend of mine who is a like an herbalist, but I've been taking Highland's Nerve Tonic. Stress relief, calms nervousness, non-habit forming, homeopathic. For Uranus oppositions, conjunctions, things like that, any supplements or any herbs that you can be taking that's going to help harmonize and help the nervous system. I have a list here. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to cure anything or tell you guys what will or won't work, but herbs that can be really good for this can be like valerian root, especially to help nervousness and to help promote sleep. Lemon balm, ashwagandha, that's something that I've been taking pretty regularly. Chamomile, passion flower, and ginkgo biloba. Also, something that I like to take for my nervous system occasionally is holy basil or skullcap. So obviously this isn't for everybody. You need to know the appropriate dosages, and you would probably need to talk to somebody and look into taking these supplements, but I'm a big fan of these. They are very helpful when it feels like the world is closing in and the intensity is kind of starting up. I want to close with reading to you guys a little bit from The Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. And I want to hear what he has to say about Mars-Uranus conjunctions, or those energies together. So if you are interested in any of these books, the Sabian symbol, The Archetypal Universe, I might actually read a little bit from the Rulership book too by Rex Bills. So this is what he has to say about Mars conjunct Uranus. Dynamic urges towards freedom, independence, determined craving for thrills, excitement, sudden breakthroughs and rushes of energy, electric yang enthusiasm, tendencies towards excessive self-will, reckless courage, defiance, impulse, rash actions, flashes of anger. Let's see. Tendence towards excessive self-will, contention, irritability, impatience, desire for sudden change, sporadic, unfocused output, reckless audacity, courage, high-flying contempt, the mediocre attraction of danger, habitual lack of moderation, defiance of all limits. Character themes would be decisive, courage, willpower, electric yang, enthusiasm, flashy and swashbuckling style, dynamic urges towards freedom and independence, feelings of erotic emancipation, zeal, hot-blooded passion, excitement. Yeah. And then archetypes in spirituality, Artemis and Diana, Robin Hood, heroic feats and quests, the reckless self-will of Icarus. You guys remember that one, right? The need to like break through, transcendent breakthrough, speed. The need for speed. Yeah, that's pretty much most of it for the most part. Is there anything else here? Yeah, no, I think we're good on that. You know, the need to liberate, do it quick, speed it up. Timelines are moving. Timelines are moving faster. That's what I'm realizing, is that with the squares to Saturn, it's like Uranus is like, it's time for the physical to catch up to where, you know, where Saturn has been doing all of its internal spiritual vibrational work, right? So now we're going to see the physical catch up to some of the Saturn limitations or requirements that we've been having. Another book that I love, I keep this on my desk. I have a ton of books on my desk. The Rulership book by Rex Bills. I don't know if this is on my Amazon list. I'll add this. This is a must-have for somebody who's seriously getting into practicing astrology, especially like mundane astrology. It's going to break everything down. So it'll break it down by, there's like a whole index, and then it'll break it down by signs and also by houses. And I want to read to you some of the things that kind of stick out to me the most in regards to Taurus. And then I'll read you a little bit about Uranus, just so I can touch on things, because this might be stuff that can be keywords for the better part of the next couple of months. All right. Architecture, art dealers, banks, bank tellers, banking, beauty, the base of the brain, cash, cash boxes, cash registers, cattle, cattlemen, cashiers, checks, checkbooks, chimneys, coins, copper, coral, obviously cows, farming in general, emeralds, the earth, financial matters, anything in regards to Ireland, Israel, Italy, jewels, jewelry, manufacturers, dealers, leather goods, money, places where money are kept, earning money, music, musicians, anything relating to obesity, profit loss, psychometry, purses, shares, stock of shares, stables, wealth, wallets, wheat fields, anything relating to the throat or tonsils, vocal cords. I'm noticing that. I've got Uranus in opposition to my sun Mercury, and over the better part of the last couple months, I've noticed my voice comes and goes. I'll have periods of time where I lose my voice. And as the moon, the other day, the moon went through Scorpio and it scored that. And it opposed it, and I lost my voice for a day. Weird stuff. And then in relation to Uranus, bring up some food for thought on this. Abnormalities, abruptness, abortions. Abortion and suicide are two big things connected to Uranus, unfortunately. And I think this is definitely reenacting the eclipse is going to bring up a lot of stuff in relation to both of these topics. I'll just leave it at that. Advisors, airplanes, airships, airways, air travel, aliens. That's what I keep thinking about. Like, are they going to show up and save everybody? Wild animals, airmen, astrology, astrologers, ballots, the kind that you vote with. Bankruptcy, bombs, bombers, breakage, bullets. Oddly enough, clairvoyance, claustrophobic, complications, cramps, cycles, cyclones, cornfields. Yeah, there's a lot here. Dynamics, divorces, disputes, disasters, emancipation, things that are erratic, experiments, factories, extremes, deals with feminism, firecrackers. I mean, the list goes on. There's a lot of stuff here. Frequencies, oil workers, oil fields, occultism, labor organizations, mechanics, mountain climbers, nerves, the nervous system, radio operators. We don't see a lot of emphasis on radio anymore, do we? Socialism, strikes, separation, self-sufficiency, revisions, revolutions, scientists. I mean, the list goes on. A lot of these things that you guys are probably already aware of, but these are going to be hot topics over the next couple of months. We are going to see more of an emphasis on self-sufficiency, more of an emphasis on whether or not we are trusting the science, or if we're trusting nature, we're trusting our bodies. I pulled some cards before I started this, and I was asking the deck, just generally, because I know you guys aren't getting your tarot reading, I was asking the deck generally, like, what's going to happen? Like, what's coming from this series of conjunctions? What is the purpose? What is the point? So I want to read to you guys what I pulled up. So the first card that I got is the Nine of Swords. And this deals with like dark thoughts, disturbing feelings, things that are weighing you down, keeping you up at night, excessively worrying about things, losing sleep, having anxiety, stress. Okay, so this is how things start. Followed by the Four of Coins. Worrying about resources. What do I have? What do I not have? What am I going to hold on to? Do I hold on too tight? What am I going to lose? Are they going to take it away from me? Whether this is access to resources, access to money, access to food. I've thought for some time that the North Node Uranus Mars stuff is going to be like land grabs. I'm hoping we don't see tensions rise in Taiwan, but we might. We might see certain countries move in and try to monopolize and like actually take over certain areas. But also I think it's going to bring up the theme of who can take what we have, right? Who can take control of our money, who has access to our banking, who determines whether or not we can own our own land or whether or not we can or cannot possess certain things, right? So the Four of Coins can be about holding on tightly, not wanting to let go, over fixating on something, disrupting the sense of releasing. You know, money is, it's an energy. If we hold on it too tightly, we don't allow it to be in flow. We don't allow stuff to come in. If we're too free with it and too reckless, we can't hold on to it. There needs to be an exchange. We need to have a healthier relationship with money, okay? It's crazy to me, and it's gotten me thinking a lot over the last couple of years. That's like, wow, our lives are dictated by a piece of paper. And who determines what's valuable? You know, it's valuable because we deem it to be valuable, because we trade it, because we exchange it. Similar to art, right? Nobody says it's art or that it's valuable unless somebody deems it that way. So it's giving us the opportunity to really think about what we are holding on to, what we have. Is it actually valuable? Are we actually safe and secure because we have all the things that we're told that we need to have? Followed by the Six of Cups, reminiscing, getting back to simpler times. One of my favorite things to do is to like talk to like older generations. You know, like I have like a lot of my mentors and or like really close friends that I work with are like 65 to like 90. And I love listening to them talk about, you know, back in the day. You know, we didn't have the internet. We had to like meet and talk to people. We had to teach, you know, astrology and tarot in somebody's garage or in somebody's, you know, basement because it was still kind of like a taboo thing. We couldn't come out and talk about our belief system. We couldn't tell people that we were witches or that we were energy healers. And so I think that with the Six of Cups, it's talking about going back to simpler times, reminiscing on when we were children, what life was like. I was thinking about this today. I was like, what was life like before cell phones? I could think back to when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, you know, like getting up on a Saturday or a Sunday morning and being like, I want to have breakfast and watch cartoons, you know? And I'm not saying that's the most productive way of using your time, but, you know, cut me a break. I was a kid. But nowadays we get up and we're immediately on our phone, we're looking at our emails, you know, we're reading the horrible things that's being posted in the news, we're getting consumed by what the stock market is doing. Not many of us like get up and decide not to touch our phone. And I've been doing that for the last week. I've been like, I'm gonna get up and, you know, when I check my phone, I check my phone, but I would rather get up and have breakfast, go outside, go swimming, you know, take the dog for a walk because he's getting a little chunky. Those of you guys who have seen my dog on my social media, I've got a 35-pound French bulldog who is like 8 months old. It's just, he's like a bowling ball. Anyway, so Six of Cups, getting back to simpler times, reflecting and reminiscing on the good times when we were kids, and what we want to get back to, right? So thinking about what we'd like to get back to. And then we've got the Three of Pentacles, helping us work, team efforts. Needing to do this work with other people, needing to perfect things, strengthen numbers, anything I think also in relation to being able to kind of find something that we love and working hard on it. I mean, I think this is also about artistic abilities, a trade, a skill, anything that we're able to work on in a positive manner, right? So it's also about like the value of different ideas and the experience of collaboration and how we can collaborate with other people to be able to kind of make physical shifts. And the final card always obviously represents like what's the outcome, right? Like, you know, what do we get out of all of this? What is the end goal going to be? The High Priestess. Inner enlightenment, awareness, inner illumination, divine knowledge, wisdom, anything in regards to letting our intuition be the guide, indicating that there is some very powerful, strong messages and impulses that are coming through our subconscious, but also this alignment with spirit and this knowing that we are connecting our energies to our inner voice or our inner intuition, knowing that that's what we had to do all along. For so many of us, I think that there is something that's going on in our life right now where we're like, I know I'm supposed to be doing this, but I'm just not doing this, you know? And I will give you this, I would say, I guess I could call it a warning, but I'll give you this heads up that as these energies start building at the end of July, going into August, we are going to be pushed out of our comfort zone. There is a need to step forward. There is a need to not be passive. There will be events that will be taking place that are literally going to light a fire under our bottoms and say, it's time to get going. It's time to evolve. We need to move. We need to get things going. You know, get started. You don't have to figure out the end result. Just get started. Find ways to transmute anger and fear. Be focused on cutting ties and letting go of anything that threatens your ability to feel secure right now. That's what's so important. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for listening to all of my talk today. I look forward to your comments. Please do leave me a comment. Let me know how you're feeling with these energies. Where is it happening in your chart? Especially if you've got any planets in these fixed signs. I would love to hear what's going on in your life and what insights you have. Were you born with the North Node conjunct Uranus, or do you have Uranus conjunct Mars? I'd love to hear from you as well. I will be back with another video on Thursday. I want to let you guys know, like I said, there is another video coming next week that I'm going to do in collaboration, so stay tuned for that. And if you have not already joined my newsletter, please head over to my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. You can see my calendar if you'd like to book a one-on-one session with me. I'd be happy to see you. But also there's going to be a prompt to sign up for my newsletter. If you sign up for my newsletter, you're going to get an email and you're going to know when my Astro 101 is going on sale. I'm going to be putting that out soon if you want to learn beginner astrology. You will also be on the mailing list, so you will know when my tarot courses are coming out. But because in the next week or two, I'm going to be releasing a link. So if you would like to make a donation to join my live webinar that's all about the North Node Uranus for global events, there's like a whole list of things, guys. Like basically, I'm going to be talking about how the North Node Uranus Mars is going to conjunct and how it's going to affect each of the 12 signs. I'm going to go in depth so you know what to prepare for and what's coming and how to work with that energy. I'm going to talk about Uranus and the North Node throughout history, so what we've seen over the last 100 years, things that manifested, what happened the last time we had this conjunction in the 1600s, and predictions that I'm making off of that. And this would be revisiting the conjunction that happened in 1687. My world predictions, including financial matters, crypto, global weather events, human conscious upgrades, and much, much more. So I'm going to be making this really affordable. It's probably going to be like $25 or less. So that way anybody who wants to attend can attend, and you'll get a PDF that's going to give you more information. Crystal, herbal recommendations, practical recommendations of just how to work with this energy. And like I said, I hope you understand that I'm not pulling tarot cards for all the 12 signs, because I really want to go in deep and talk about this and you know, present this to you guys in a way that's going to be really clean, and I'm going to have more time to do it. So if you like this, stay tuned, join my my newsletter so that way you're alerted as to when it's coming out. Follow me on Instagram. You can find me at Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. I'm going to be posting all this information across my social media pages. I'm just waiting for Mercury to come into like a trine with Saturn. So once that happens, somewhere closer to the beginning of July, you guys will be seeing that posted pretty shortly. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see all of you very soon. Take care.